Welcome to the Indie Author Spotlight, where we interview indie authors about upcoming releases as well as life as an author, presented to you by Books, Brews, and Dogs. You can visit booksbrewsanddogs.com, purchase a blind date with a book, and support animal rescue efforts. Books, Brews, and Dogs is where you can buy a book and save a dog or a cat. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Books, Brews, Dogs podcast, and we're here with Danielle MacMath, who is an indie narrator as opposed to an author, but still just does some fantastic stuff. And I am excited to have her on here and talk a little bit about that aspect of working with our favorite things, which is stories. So, hi, Danielle. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm super excited to learn more about that behind the scenes process of, getting a book narrated and onto audio, because I listen to audiobooks more than I listen to music. So if I'm cleaning the house, I have a book on more than I do music or anything. So I'm really interested to hear about like how you got into it and all of this stuff. So I'm super, super excited about this. So let's get started with the first question. Like, what brought you into wanting to narrate books, and like, how did you go about getting started in that?
Yeah. So, I'm an actor. I've always loved acting, ever since I was a kid. I also thought about becoming a teacher. I went to school for education. So stories have always been a part of my life, whether that's performing them, or as a substitute teacher, reading them out loud. But also when I was in high school for my Girl Scout Gold Award, I was collecting movies and books on tape and CD players, headphones for Children's Specialized Hospital, specifically children with disabilities that left them unable to read on their own, or like whether that was holding up a book even.
Mhm.
uh, and so I was seeking donations, and I kept getting a lot of physical books, and not enough books on tape, which was really what these children in particular needed. um, so I kind of just decided to record my own. I just recorded myself reading stories in my parents' walk-in closet, and put them on CDs, along with the CD players that I had collected for the kids, and sent those out. So that was sort of my first experience, with audiobooks unofficially.
That's such a
Um,
neat way to have gotten started in the process, right? Because it's not something you set out to do, but you were like,
yeah.
this is a need and it needs to be filled. And so you were like, I guess I'm just going to have to do it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean,
Yeah.
again, like I've always enjoyed reading stories out loud. So, just reading different kids' books, and, there was no like audio processing that I was doing back then, but, just reading them and having them ready to go for the kids who needed them.
That's so amazing and such an amazing story. Like I'm a little bit at loss for words right now because of how much that resonates, right? So a big part of what I do is raise awareness and funds for animal rescues. Having worked with Saving South Texas to rescue our dog Murphy. And then I also have a grandma who rescued and rehabilitated birds of prey, and she, had a whole nonprofit in called Sky Hunters out in California. And so my whole life, like I've been around rescuing animals and things, and so it just like doing these things and finding our way into a business because we were fulfilling a need with a cause, and hope it like completely. I understand where that comes from. Like it just resonates so much with me. That's so amazing and such an amazing origin story for you. I love it. I just love it. Um, what was your favorite part of reading for the kids and like working with the kids as you were giving them these stories and like what part of that like did you just love the most?
Um, I think being able to take my, favorite children's books and then bring them to life,
Mhm.
coming up with different voices for the different characters. I I know people have different preferences with audiobooks, but with my background in acting, I'm definitely a more animated voiceover artist. And yeah, I was in high school, so I was doing the school shows, but it's not like I was acting professionally or anything. I would just do the, spring musical once a year. And so this was just another opportunity for me to get to perform really and bring characters to life and think about what they would sound like. How would this one talk? What do I want this one to be like?
That's really cool. So speaking of like the different voices, so I was able to listen to a little bit of the Snowden with the Boy Next Door, which is one of the books you narrate, which can be found on Audible. Where is there anywhere else that can be found, or is it an Audible only?
It's Audible only.
Audible only. Okay. So Snowden with the Boy Next Door, Audible only. And in listening to the little bit of that I did get to listen to, um I you do the main character's narration and her voice comes across as like confident but a little bit like I can't believe I'm having to say some of the stuff I'm about to say, right? So she's reminiscing this story and you can really feel that in the way the voice comes across. But when the mom comes in, like I got that very like helicopter parent type, like you know, the voice is much higher pitch and she's like, are you okay, sweetie? Are you sure you're gonna be okay? And you know, you get that higher pitch voice and it really like conveyed that like over concern from where in the beginning of the book where she was like, are you sure, are you sure, are you sure? And it just like you conveyed that really well in that voice acting, and I think you did a really good job with your voices between those two characters and really conveying kind of what was happening, because I did really get the sense of like the exasperated daughter versus the mom, and you did such a good job with those inflections and tones being added into those voices.
Thank you. Yeah, that book was a lot of fun because it's your classic enemies to lovers trope.
Mm,
Uh, and so, yeah, it was fun to be able to tap into that annoyance and frustration. It's also forced proximity, as the title suggests.
yeah.
She gets snowed in with the boy next door. Um, and, as two kids that don't like each other, but now are forced to spend time together, without anyone else. And how do they're really also just, I mean, they're teenagers, but they're kids that are put in this adult situation. It's a snowstorm, power outage, and how now they have to make the decisions and figure out what to do. So it was fun to find, the annoyances in the two characters and then have that soften as they do come together and come to like each other.
Yeah, it's so the little bit of it that I've been able to listen to, things have been a little bit crazy. So um I unfortunately wasn't able to listen to as much of it as I would have liked, but it seems like it's a really fun book, and I can't wait to dig into it a little bit more and a little bit deeper. And I'm already behind on doing the book reviews I'm supposed to do. So once I get around to finishing it, there will eventually be book reviews. I'm behind like 3 book reviews, but running your own business is a beast. And like, oh man, it's hard to do when you're doing everything, you know?
Oh yeah.
So, as a lot of indie authors know,
Hmm.
they're, and with you being a narrator, you're running your own business, trying to get the narrations. Now, are you working another part-time or full-time job while you're getting this going, or is this your main source of income? If
Yeah,
you're okay
so
talking about that.
yeah, no, that's fine. So I'm an actor and best case scenario for me is to have paid acting gigs. That that's what I do. Um, but of course, just the nature of acting in general is you book a show, you do it, and it closes. So then you have to move on to the next one. Ideally, you'd have another one immediately lined up. Otherwise, you're just now back to being unemployed, which is why actors will have a lot of other part-time jobs. So I do have other part-time jobs. Substitute teaching is one of them. Um, and after having done the unofficial audio book recording as a teenager for my Girl Scout Gold Award, uh, I decided that I'd like to really start doing that professionally and seriously, um, because so I had saved up enough money to get the equipment that I needed to get started, and yeah, started auditioning for voiceover gigs, and then uh, did a few like commercial ones, and then really fell into audiobooks, which again, because I love storytelling, I love. So that's nice because,
I mean, you're getting paid to read a story. Like,
yeah.
it sounds like a dream. I'm not good at doing voices, uh, as I was told by my younger brother when I would read to him. So I don't think I ever really considered doing that, doing narration, um, in that way. But like, I've always like, how do I get paid to read? How do I find a way to get paid to read? Because I could just do this all day. And as a narrator, that's kind of what you manage to accomplish. It's a dream for so many of us. Like, you're
Yeah.
living a reader's dream.
Yeah. Um, and it's nice because I get to make my own schedule. So which is what actors are always looking for in terms of these other side gigs, um, having something that isn't going to interfere with auditioning or the show that you're doing. But if I'm in rehearsals that are during the day, then I can come home at night and record, edit. Once the show opens and we're performing at night, then I have the day to record, edit, do all of that work for the audiobooks.
Yeah, that's so amazing, that you were able to do that and that you trusted yourself enough to say, hey, I'm going to do that. Because branching out and doing these creative endeavors takes a lot of courage, because a lot of times people don't see it as a real job. It's a conversation we have a lot, right? It's a conversation I have in my head because, I've worked in retail and corporate jobs up until this year. And I had little side hobbies and jobs, but I always call them like my side projects, right? And when I got laid off this year, like, this business, Books, Brews, Dogs, became my job. And I still have to remind myself, because I'll be like, well, when I had a real job, and I'm like, I do have a real job.
Yeah.
Like, I am working, I'm, you know, checks and balances. I have bills to pay for the business. I have taxes I have to pay for the business. And like, that is all work. Like, what do you mean when I have a real job? It is a real job. And we kind of get lost in that, because so many people are like, if you're not working for a company, then you don't have a real job. And so it takes a lot of courage to do what you did, and um go for that dream and stick it out and go through that. And you are among quite a few elites that I can think of. I have some books narrated by Rosamund Pike and Scarlett Johansson. So, like, these are big name actresses that are doing what you're doing. They're reading and narrating books um, in between their gigs and stuff. Because Rosamund Pike's in Wheel of Time, right? I
Mhm.
know she's done much more than that, but that's the biggest one she's been in recently. But she also narrates Pride and Prejudice, or has a Pride and Prejudice she narrates, which is fun. And then Scarlett Johansson, I think it's Alice in Wonderland. And so here you are, like, you're right up there doing the same things. So, like, um, it makes sense. And I only thought about it when you said, once the gig's over, like, you actually triggered that memory. I'm like, oh my God, she's doing the same thing all these other actors are doing. Like, and so you're up there in there, whether you realize it or not. You
Thank
are, at least to a small degree, because you're acting it and you're doing the book narration. And so that's something that, you're living it, you're doing it, whether you realize it or not. And just making sure you know that.
thank you. Yeah, the imposter syndrome definitely hits. And it did take a while to really take the plunge. And I had thought about doing voiceover work and audiobook narration for a while before I actually got the equipment, set up my home booth, worked on demos, learned how to edit the recordings, and then started doing it.
Yeah. Well, I am, even though we haven't known each other very long, I'm very proud of you for taking that and kind of following that dream, because um there's so many books out there that need to be told. And like you said, some people use audiobooks because they can't hold the physical book anymore because of a disability that they might have, or and so narrating uh these novels and these books and getting them out there so that people with disabilities can actually hear these stories is fulfilling a need. And it's not just a novelty thing, it's fulfilling a true need that some people have. And so, if that's what gets you to start doing it, then that's what gets you to start doing it. But it really is an amazing thing, and it's something that I probably did not think about until you said, because, I don't have one of those disabilities, at least as of yet. But I do know that, after my grandma's third stroke, she couldn't read anymore. She ended up
Yeah.
like giving, and I never really tied that together before, that, you know, she would have really enjoyed having audiobooks since she couldn't hold the books anymore. And it just never really registered. And it is, I think, a sad statement on our society that it took talking to you about that before it registered in my head. So that's obviously some work that I have. um,
Yeah, no, for me too, it was the same thing. I was, in the process of developing what I wanted my project to be for my gold award. And uh, I was in touch with someone who was working at Children's Specialized Hospital, and I went to tour. And it really wasn't until I took the tour and saw some of these kids that I was like, it really sunk in, like, oh, this is not just a normal toy drive. collecting toy. Like there's limitations on what they can do and what they can use. And after really seeing the patients who were there, um, that's that's why I realized, no, I need to get audiobooks for them. Like there were some DVDs that were donated, um, and books, but I'm like, no, I really need to get these kids what they need.
Yeah. I think that speaks a lot to your character as a person as well, that you were able to see the need and then want to find a way to fulfill that need. And that sense of community, I think, seems to be prevalent in a lot of people who are going out on their own. And at least the indie authors that I've all spoke with, they have this huge sense of community. So, and a lot of these artists and a lot of the small businesses that I work with have
Mhm.
this sense of community of, let's all work together. Like, we work together, we promote each other, and if you succeed, that means I've succeeded. And it's what we've done, what I've been learning as I've been starting my own business this year and working towards, the baskets we have. I get small businesses. The tea that you get when you order a book comes from a small business. And just everyone working together and working around to make sure that everybody's able to profit, right? So
Mhm.
we're we're all working together behind the scenes to help each other and make sure that everybody it is getting there. And that's kind of what inspired this podcast too, was like, what's another way to kind of help people get to know you guys. And so and the response that I had was absolutely amazing. Like, because um I'm not even sure, how did you find out? Because you reached out to me. And so, which some of the authors on my queue have, but they were told about me and the podcast from authors I had already met. So how did you find me?
Yeah, so I found you on Instagram. I can't say exactly how I found you. I guess I don't know. I've been trying to, build community, as you're
Mhm.
saying, connect with people with similar interests. And yeah, like what I love about you is that you're combining all these things. It's not just, selling blind books, but I mean, first of all, just the books and dogs. I was like, oh, what's this account? Let me check this out. But yeah, and then also, like you said, with how your packages come with, they tie in all these other small businesses. Ah, there's the dog.
This is Karen. This is our
Hi.
husband. Hey, buddy. So yeah, it's my
Um,
three favorite things. Literally just named the business after my three favorite things. And we chose brews because I like tea, but my husband likes coffee. And we're like, well, what's a word that encompasses both?
yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's really cool. So at least my Instagram is getting out to people I didn't know before.
Yeah,
That's good to know. Sometimes you wonder because you're like, sometimes something gets 300 views and then other times it's like 50 and you're like, what?
yeah,
So
and I think you had posted something about the podcast, and I was like, when I first saw it, I bookmarked it. So I was like, oh, I gotta check this out more. Um, and then I was busy, whatever, and then I finally went back through my bookmarks, and I was like, I gotta reach out.
so you actually go back through your Instagram bookmarks, because I bookmark stuff and then I forget that I did it. And it's somewhere in the back of my head. I'm like, there's a thing, and then I use the search bar to
Uh,
search like the one phrase I remembered from the bookmark thing to find it again. And I don't think I've ever actually gone back through my bookmarks.
well, for me, it's because I don't remember what I've bookmarked. Like I don't even remember that there what to put in the search to find it again. So I'll like bookmark things and then every once in a while I'll be like, was there something important I was supposed to look up or check out? So then I have to like go through my bookmarks to see what it was, whether it was like a casting call or a product that I wanted to get,
Or
and
a
so I'll like
podcast you
browse
thought you might
through.
want to be on.
Yeah, yeah, and then I'm like, oh, um, yeah,
That's amazing. I might have to set a reminder so that like once a week I do that because there's probably thousands that I need to sift through.
yeah.
Um, so let's go back to your work. So what is the book that you as up to now is so far your favorite book that you've ever narrated?
Sure. Well, I am still very new at this, so I don't have a huge catalog. Um, Snowden with the Boy Next Door does have a very special place in my heart. It was my first audiobook. Emily Camp, she's such a sweetheart. I was so honored that she trusted me with her book, and her characters, and she was great throughout the whole process. And yeah, we got the book out there. It's a sweet young adult romance story. Um, there's no spice, so it's good for younger ages. Um, and it just really reminded me of being back in high school and having those crushes and trying to decipher feelings for
Mhm.
the people around you and all of that.
Heck, I turned 40 this year and I'm still trying to figure out how to decipher how I feel about certain people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because it does feel like a really cute, light read. That's just kind of a fun read. And
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of in-depth, deeper books lately. Um, or, books that are that thick.
Yeah.
So, and I was I'm having to do a lot of rereads because there's a lot of books I've been waiting on that are getting ready to come out, and I'm like, oh, I need to reread that one, and I need to
Yeah.
reread that one, because getting towards the holidays, a lot of books start coming out, and a lot of the indie authors I've interviewed have stuff coming out this holiday season that I'm like, I need that, I need that. Like, I think Jonna D's doing a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and she's part of like
Ooh.
a whole series where they're doing it from different parts around the world. So the beast is an animal from from one of the myths from that area. So like they're doing like Japan and Russia and just every different places. I think there was 10 books in it. It's like the Global Beast series or something.
That's
Um
awesome.
yeah, and it sounds like super cool, and I'm like, I have to like check those out because I love mythology and different myths and seeing how they come together and
Yeah.
how different they are and how different cultures interpret different things, and so that's like completely up my alley. um so just a lot of stuff coming out, and do you have anything that you're looking forward to, like any upcoming projects you're getting ready to work on? And
Yeah, well, I don't have anything that I'm currently working on because I just closed a theater show, so that was taking up a lot of my time. Um, but I a book that I narrated, It's called Grave Walker. It's kind of similar to the Supernatural TV series. If
Mhm.
you're a fan of that, you would be a fan of this. Um, so that's like all completed on my end. It just hasn't been released yet. It's going through the quality check uh, stage right now. So I'm looking forward to that coming out and being able to share that one. Because that was fun. It's I got to do a Southern accent for that, which was fun.
Nice. So, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. So, can you just do a couple of different voices for us and give like a little bit of a sample? Like, I I guess you would probably need to grab a book or something. I don't
Sure, or
know. I'm
I
like,
guess like
I know because I did not prepare you for that, but I literally was just like, I'm gonna be mean and put her on go ahead and put her on the spot. I did
that's
not
okay. Um, I mean, do you want like accents specifically or like just different voices?
do two accents and two voices,
Okay.
just like in general.
Sure. So let me think.
I know you probably have so much more time to prepare, and this is such like a on the spot improv, but
Yeah, I'm trying to um let me think. Okay.
I'm gonna have to send you flowers and apologize.
um well, this is a British character. Um Perhaps also high class. Maybe this counts as both an accent and a voice. Because this is one of those snobby um Queen of England type older British ladies that you might see in a I've had auditions for commercials that are they're looking for a Bridgerton parody, and this is something I might do for them there. Yes, one of those stuck-up high society ladies.
I love it. And you even like just came up with the random things to say. So
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't fair that I didn't at least give you like, here, read this in a character voice, but I'm making you like completely improv this on on a
Sure.
podcast. So we'll let that count as a voice and a character.
Great.
So do you got one more in you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do Southern. Just sort of wilting into a Southern. I mean, there are technically different types of Southern accents, just as there are different types of uh British accents. You got your RP and your Cockney, and so Southern. We could get more into the specifics of which Southern region we're talking, but I guess this would just be a general Southern. Uh, yeah.
I love it. I am so I have a problem where when I try to do an accent, it is absolutely horrid. But if I am talking to somebody who has an accent, by the fourth sentence in, I've picked up their cadence and their drawl, and I start following that line. And so it's sometimes people think I'm mocking them, and I have to explain. I'm like, nope, I've just been talking to you too long. So I I love being it like hearing people do their accents and stuff. So thank you for that. So what other books do you have? So we talked to you're new at this, but you've done more than Snowden with the Boy Next Door. So what other books have you worked with and other authors?
hmm Um, so I've had fun doing some poetry as well, which is different and nice. It's easy when it's when they're good poems that you
Yeah.
enjoy reading. Um, so I worked with Jan Kirchner on a poetry book, and then she asked me to also do a short mystery novella. Um, so that was fun. Um, I also recently released Operation Mincemeat, the corpse that fooled Hitler. So, Operation Mincemeat was a historical spy mission in World War II, um, where the Allied powers used a body, like a literal corpse that they pretended was some high-ranking military officer, to deliver these false documents, to trick the Nazis. Um, so there's a Broadway musical called Operation Mincemeat about this historical mission, that was recently released. So then to be able to work on an audiobook that's just the historical retelling of it, was really awesome. What's fun about nonfiction is then getting to learn something too. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
as you read, I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. This is
Yeah,
interesting. I gotta look up more about this. So that was really awesome, to work on.
that's amazing. That that sounds really cool because I didn't um not that I'm all that versed in World War II and all the things that went down, but I feel like that should have been a much more well-known story than it is because like how cool is that?
Yeah.
That to be able to do that, it's it's a disturbing in a lot of ways, but also like, damn, that's creative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and in a war, you do what you got to do to make sure you're the one that comes out on top, right? So
Mhm.
that's really fascinating. And that's Operation Mincemeat.
Yes.
Um, so when did that one come out?
Um, that came out, I believe it was earlier this month. Yeah. Early July.
Okay, so that's a recent one. And
Yes.
then so you have Snowden with the Boy Next Door, which is your first one that you did with Emily Camp. And then Operation Mincemeat came out this one. So that was your second one
No,
or
Holes in Your Umbrella, the poetry collection, was
poetry one, Holes in Your Umbrella.
my second. It's also hard to like think in terms of what I've recorded and what has been released or not. Um, when they're released on Amazon, I can like go into the portal and see like where they are
Mm.
um in the process of being released. Um, but then I've recorded Savage Tides by Scarlett Devereaux, um, which was just an independent contract with her directly. Um, so now she's in charge of that releasing. So that might have been my second book, even though it's not out yet. And then Holes in Your Umbrella is out. Um, Operation Mincemeat is out. Um, Velvet Knives, which is the second piece I did with Jan Kirchner, that's not released yet. And Gravewalker is not released yet. Um, the books, like the ebooks, are released, but
Mhm.
you should just wait for the audiobook to come out.
I like to do both. So my husband's more of an audiobook reader. It he processes it better when he can hear it. Um I prefer to read it, but I also like to listen while I read
Hmm.
sometimes. And so when we find books that we both really like, so like Wheel of Time, we have on Audible as well as physical copies. And so sometimes I'll sit down and I'll listen to it while I'm reading the book. Um, and it's one of the few ways I can actually shut my brain off and relax, because otherwise it spirals. Um, is to like have the auditory and the visual going at the same time, because then my brain has to focus to put the two together. Um, but I just, so they should just get both.
Yeah.
Just get both, people. Get the audiobook so you can listen to Danielle's amazing narrations, and then also get it so you can follow and read along, and you'll know how you'll seem so much smarter because you'll never mispronounce the characters' names.
Yeah.
That's the best part about having the audiobook and the book, is when I read it, I know what the characters' names are because my husband listens to the audio and he can tell me what they are, or I
Yeah.
can go look it up on the audio real quick. So you actually have quite a few projects under your belt, and reading books takes time. So you probably read them a little bit more consistently than we do, but you still can't finish, 300-page book in a single day when you're having to do a recording. So how long does it take you to record, a novella, like a 300-page novella on average, would you think?
Um, I don't really go by page count, because that can vary. Um, Typically, if you're looking at 1 hour of produced audio,
Mm-hmm.
that can take up to 6 hours to produce that. Um, I'm at the point where I'm editing my own audio and mastering my own audio. I'm not sure that Rosamund Pike and Gwyneth
Yeah, they
Paltrow
probably
are
don't
doing
have
that.
to. They probably don't have to do that, but
Yeah, they
you know,
probably just get to come into the booth and just read the book.
it,
Um,
that doesn't mean that you're not gonna get there. It
yeah,
doesn't mean that you're not within the spectrum of what they're doing, right? It may not be at that level yet, but there's potential. And, you're not having to do things, you might have to do a little more by yourself, but you know what? They probably don't know how to run that equipment at all. And
yeah,
you do.
it takes
And that
learning.
gives you a one up.
Yeah,
So, um, but no, I think it's, sometimes I think we need to remind ourselves that just because we're not famous doesn't mean that we're not capable or within that same realm, right? Because you're doing the same work they're doing. You're not doing, you might be doing a little bit more even, and putting in more work and more effort than they really need to.
hmm,
Um, but you're like, it doesn't make you any less because you're not coming from that. And so me bringing that up earlier was definitely trying to be more like, look, you're, whether you realize it or not, you're putting yourself in that world, and you're doing it. You have books under your belt, you've done the narration, and you have to audition for these. So you clearly have done well enough that people went, oh my God, I love how she did that, and chose you over other people, right?
yeah,
So remember that.
thanks.
It's hard. It's so much
Yeah,
easier for me to say that to you than it is for me to say it to me. So I imagine it's probably the same for, all of us out here doing things on our own, that, we have a hard time remembering that we are doing a good job. So, um, but that's really cool that you're, because you're learning how to do all of that production work and everything. So you're building skills upon skills upon skills as you're doing this.
yeah.
Um, so how did you kind of just always know you could do voices, or is that just something you played around with a lot as a kid, or are you like, do you go through training where and stuff for it? Like, what is that process for you?
Um, it's kind of both. I mean, as a kid, I was very theatrical, and my cousins and I would like put on our own shows in our grandma's living room. Um, and just being three of us, it often required us to play multiple roles. And when you're just like three kids, that means just doing different voices for um the different characters that you're coming up with. Um, so yeah, I think definitely with the acting side of my childhood, I always was inclined toward different voices. Um, and then I went to school for acting, and then I learned how to properly do accents in terms of analyzing the actual vowel sounds and mouth shapes and tongue placement, and how to learn to do that for different accents. Um, and yeah, I mean, also, as you were saying, just like being immersed in it and listening to other people helps
Mhm.
in terms of accents, but also just in terms of character voices. The more audiobooks I listen to, movies I watch, TV shows I watch, it all does contribute in some way, along with the actual training.
So, how do you determine when you're narrating a book? How do you determine what that character is going to sound like? Like, is there practicing? Are you like walking around the house trying out different voices? Or, like, what's the process for determining what that character will sound like?
Yeah, so what I like to do is when I mean I ideally I would like the manuscript before I agree to work on the whole book, just so I know what I'm getting into. But I'll when I get a manuscript, I'll read through it so I have an idea of the whole story, where these characters are going to end up, right?
Mhm.
The in Snowden with the boy next door, the popular boy that she's flirting with at the beginning of the story isn't who she actually ends up with. So, knowing what all of the characters' roles are in the greater story, um, and getting an idea of how often they appear. Um, then on my next read through, I highlight the characters' dialogues in different colors. So it's color coded by character. Main character is yellow, love interest is pink, villain is orange, whatever. Um, to just help me keep it straight in my mind, I guess.
Mhm.
And it also helps to be able to I have the manuscripts on my iPad, so to be able to scroll through and see, okay, all of the orange, this is all of this character. Um, and yeah, then I'll just try to just think about what what ideally I would want them to sound like. And I'll test some things out. I'll I'll record, using my color coding, I'll just record a bunch of lines for that character, so that way I can see so that way I can kind of settle on a voice and decide. Sometimes if I like pick a voice for the first few lines, then the character's lines later, I'm like, no, that doesn't work. I find myself doing it this way or whatever. So I'll play around with that before I fully settle on what I want.
I mean, that makes sense. I do the same thing. So, like, I may not be able to get the voice I hear in my head to come out of my mouth,
Yeah.
but like sometimes I read a sentence and I'm like, no, that didn't have enough sarcasm in it.
Yeah.
And I have to go back and reread it with the correct amount of sarcasm before I can move on. And so I imagine narrating out loud is a lot like that. And so we um readers who do what I do, where it's like, wait, no, that needed to be said in this way, are essentially doing what you do, but in our heads. You just have the courage to do it out loud.
Yeah.
Um, so that's really cool. That I like the idea of highlighting the different characters because that's a really good, quick visual. Like, you have to switch real quick before, because I could imagine it if you didn't have something more visual, like sometimes I'm reading dialogue and the one character's talked for so long that when the one line comes in from the character she's talking to, you read it in their voice and you have to stop and go back.
Yeah.
When you're recording, that would be a mess to have to do so constantly, go back and da, da, da.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. I warned people, and I didn't realize now that I didn't warn you like I did everybody else. I don't edit the podcasts unless I have to trim out because we get into a 15-minute laughing fit like I did with
Sure.
Lauren. Um, so, and it still takes me after recording these interviews to just to add in the very basic pictures and words and the closed captioning and stuff. It still takes me like 3 to 4 hours, and I'm not even cutting the video and doing anything with it. So I can only imagine the time. I mean, you said it took 6 hours to edit one full hour. So, and most books are, you know, what, 10 hours on average, five, minimum 5 hours
Yeah.
completed. So five, out of 5 hour book, that's what, 36 hours worth of work. I'm bad at math, so I'm not that that's right. But somewhere around 30 hours or so of work to get 5 hours of production out. That's a lot of time
Hmm.
and a lot of love to put into your craft. So that's really amazing, and that's a lot of dedication um, that goes into that. So what is something so we're um, words are hard. When words are hard and they disappear a lot. Um, what is something that surprised you about the narrating industry as you got into it that you think, you know a lot of people wouldn't know about, or something that seems counterintuitive that is a part of this process?
Sure. I mean, probably with the editing, um, even just in terms of editing out breath sounds, different things that a professional microphone picks up, um, in terms of the some of the weird sounds our mouths can make, um, or taking a deep breath.
You have
Uh,
me terrified right now because I just my I had been using my headphone mics because for some reason the professional mic wasn't working, and now I'm using this and I'm like, can they hear when I'm swallowing, when I'm like huffing, like oh man, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you
no, it's
terrified
okay.
me.
I
I'm
mean,
like, what are they gonna hear on this now that I have a professional mic for this? Oh no.
I think it also is different when you're, watching something and then it's just like, oh, friends hanging out, having a chat, um, versus when you're just listening. Um, and I'm also closer to the mic than you are now. Um,
Okay,
when I'm recording. So I think you're okay. Um, but yeah, just the the type of editing that needs to be done, and listening back to make sure that it's right and it's what you want. Um, yeah, that was something that I really had to learn. And luckily I had started with um shorter like commercial voiceovers before going into full audiobooks. So I had an idea of like how editing worked,
Hmm.
and what I needed to do. So it's not like I was coming into working on, hours of material and then having to suddenly edit that. But yeah, it is different because even so with the more commercial stuff, I I listen to it over and will redo it because I want it to sound good, but ultimately it is being sent off to someone else for final mastering,
Hmm.
whether they're putting, music in the background or whatever they're doing with it. Um, versus at least the audiobook productions that I've done, um, where I am doing the final mastering of the file, which is not just editing sounds, but also making sure that the file is the correct specifications based on what Amazon wants. Um,
Hmm.
so making sure that that's all good to go. Terms that like I didn't even necessarily know before I started this, um, like bit rate.
Yeah. I have no idea what that means. Probably should, since I'm trying to start a podcast and get going and interviewing things. And I'm kind of like, right now, there's just so much going on. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna talk to amazing people, and I'm gonna put a video up, and people are gonna love it or they're gonna hate it, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, and at a certain point, that is kind of just what you need to do. I haven't done a 10-hour book yet because I was like, I'll start smaller. Um, and it's also just worked out that the projects I've, you know, auditioned for and been accepted to, are ones that I enjoy as well. So they're just these nice, cute, shorter things. And
Well,
some
they
of it is you learn as you go.
and all of them sound so interesting. Like, I'm always up for a nice, sweet, quick, easy read romance. Like those are fun little in between books between these deeper, fantasy novels that I
Yeah.
tend to read, like high, super involved fantasy novels where you have to flip back and double check that the genealogy pages on them because you're like, wait, that
Yeah.
name sounds similar to that one, and I absolutely love those books, but you do need a break in between them sometimes. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, quick respite, go back, finish it. And so like these little romance books in between really kind of help with that. And or cozy mysteries is the other one I like to do a lot. I like to do a lot of little cozy mysteries in between the big, because like you think Wheel of Time is like 14 books long, right?
Hmm.
And then you have um I can't think of anything right now. The Kushiel's Legacy is my favorite series, and it's only 3 books, but each book is like that thick.
Hmm.
So, you have to have these little breaks in between. But I forgot where I was going with this. I was gonna link it back to what you were saying about doing the shorter audiobooks, and it's gone.
It's
So
okay.
now I'm just rambling. Um, so what is your least favorite part about producing a narration for a novel?
Um, yeah, the editing because I'm a performer, and so the performing of it is the most fun. Um, it can be frustrating how dependent you are on your voice though, and how um it can be frustrating if it's not working the way you want it to. Um, this spring I had a bad week of allergies, and I was like my voice was raspy, and I'm like, I as a singer, as a performer, I know different remedies for vocal care, drinking tea, all of that. Um, but at a certain point, there's no magic switch, and so that was just frustrating to not be
Yeah.
able to sound the way I wanted to, and to really just need to take the vocal rest, so that way my voice could get back to where I wanted it to be.
Yeah, because I mean, once you get the contract, you're probably on a timeline too. And so, what happens if you get sick in the middle of that? Like, that's got to be hard because now that ups the scales of like, what do you do? Like, that's really got to be really scary to know, like that your work depends on your voice, and if you get sick, you're and there's the other one. Hi, Murphy. He's standing behind the chair as my guard. He's like, "All right, mom, you've been in here too long." I don't know if you'll be able to see him if I put it down, but he's no, you can't see. Oh, hold on. No, I can't get it to him. All I can get is their toy basket in the back. He's right behind my chair. They switched places. Perrin used to be there. I didn't even see Perrin walk out. Um, but yeah, those are my boys. I make sure that they always have to make an appearance in every episode we do.
Good.
They're they're part of my existence. So, but yeah, how terrifying to, know that if you get sick, it can really put things off and um mess with your ability to make your income just because you have a cold. I mean, I guess we kind of all go through that, but a lot of us can take NyQuil and push through the next
Yeah.
day, or a Dayquil and push through, and that doesn't really fix your voice though.
Especially because I wasn't like sick, where
Mm.
I was like too sick to do work. Like I felt fine. It was just the allergies affecting the sound here.
Yeah, and just different things you don't think about. Although I wonder if have you ever, if it might sometimes end up working out in your favor if you get like have that raspy voice, but you have like kind of a older villainous type character, you could make it work for you. But what happens when it disappears?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you make that? How do you do that? That's so there's so many little things to consider that you really just don't think about. Like I never would have thought about, the book narrators when they get sick, how much that can really affect their ability to meet a contract date, or because you don't that's not something you plan on. So
Right.
you know and like you said, remedies can only do so much and take you so far, and a lot of times they're helping you feel better, but it's not going to necessarily make your vocal cords work better when they're swollen.
Yeah.
you know uh, so so many little things to think about and appreciate what you guys go through as a narrator for a novel, and what you're doing, because I'm guessing with a lot of the smaller people that are working through Amazon, like you, these smaller, lesser known actors that are narrating, probably all have a lot of the similar things like, oh no, I got sick. What do I do now? And so just thinking about it, and um, that's just crazy. Like how much you don't think about until you talk to somebody doing the thing. Because I use audiobooks and I have Libby, and I get audiobooks from the library, as well as using Audible and other forms. And so, but in all of this time that I've had these things, I don't think that I ever thought about what you would have to go through as a voice actor, you
Mhm.
know the coaching to do the accents and the different voices, and that's dedication, and it shows your love and appreciation for storytelling, that you put yourself through those stresses and those risks in order to do this. That's just that's a lot of gumption. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of courage to do that. Because I can only imagine. So like when you started doing this and the first time you played back your own voice reading, like how did you get through that? Because when I'm going back through and I'm playing these video recordings out of these interviews, to put in the pictures of the books that you guys have worked on and your links and stuff like that, and adding that stuff in, to time it with where we're at, I have to listen to the playback and I'm like, can I mute myself? Like my voice sounds so different to me. And so like how did you get through that? Did you have that same feeling? Like what was that like for you?
Yeah, I still have that feeling sometimes. But it's something I've been used to more as an actor. Um, for a lot of acting jobs, you have to do self-tapes. So you submit for something, they will send you the audition sides that they want you to read, and then you're just at home taping it for yourself, uh, and sending it off. So with that, I've had to play it back, listen to the different takes, which one do I like best. So I've gotten a little more used to it, than a non-actor. Um, but there's always a bit of an element of having to try to separate yourself. Especially because you are like, judging isn't the right word, but I am inherently evaluating the material already, um, in terms of as an actor with the self tape. Is this the, which take is the best one to send off to the casting team? Um, or as a narrator, is this inflection, does this make the sentence make sense? Is
Mhm.
this how it should be read? Um, so there's only so much you can judge. You kind of have to just let go of uh let go of some of it.
Yeah, that's part of why I don't edit, because if I edit, I'm like, I could have done this better, and then we'd be doing 4 or 5 different interviews instead
Yeah.
of just one. And um, like the first one, when I played the voice back, my husband's computer sits right next to mine, so his desk is right here, and so I do a lot of the editing while he's in here playing a game, and while I'm adding in the pictures of the books is what I mean in editing. But I'm listening to myself. I looked over at him. I'm like, how do you tolerate my voice? Like, because it sounds so different. So, like, when I'm speaking, the voice that I hear is not a like a deep and gravelly voice, but it's definitely not as high pitched as what I hear when I play back. And he's like, no, your voice is high pitched and it carries. And I'm like, does not sound like that to me when I'm talking. But hearing it play back, I was just like, how do you tolerate it? Like, God. So it's really weird to hear your own voice played back to you. And so um it's good to know like even narrators kind of feel that way a little bit. I think it's weird for everybody, probably at least a
Yeah.
little bit. um so there's just a lot of interesting things that I never, like, I'm learning so much through this little interview about like things that I would have never thought about, and just learning where I'm lacking knowledge and need and awareness, like, and where, because I always looked at audiobooks as like um just a cool thing that I can have so that I can clean my house while I'm listening to a book, and I still get to do that. And it is a cool thing that I get to have to do, but realizing that I lacked the awareness that for other people it's the only way they might be able to get a story. And so you helped like bring that to my attention. And so it's really cool like how much you've taught me just in this short process about what narrating a book can really do, and what it actually takes to go through that. And so this has been really, really fun. I've really enjoyed this a lot. And there's a lot to think about here about the importance of having your stories narrated. So for all you indie authors out there, I know a lot of you are on budgets, but like think about the importance of getting your story into narrating, and maybe work with some of the indie narrators to get your books narrated and your stories out there for the people who need it on audio so that they can enjoy your wonderful stories that you have. um and so this is just really like, it's such a neat process to learn more about. um so what for you in getting started, and this is going to be the last question because we're kind of getting up there in time. um so what for you was the hardest part in just saying, okay, I'm going to do it? Like after you said, okay, I'm going to do it, what was that, like what got you over that block from I don't know to just do it?
It was really a mentor of mine, another voice actor, who I was uh, performing on stage with. And she took me aside and she said, you really should do voiceover work. And she just, I don't know, saw something in me or heard something in me.
Mhm.
And she invited me over to her house to check out her home studio and gave me just like a quick demo of how it works, in terms of the software you need for recording, the equipment, and that, and also a quick look at the editing process, the different sites to go on to find voiceover projects. And so that was the boost I needed, because it having someone else say that they believed in me, um, and taking the time to give me an idea of how it would work, so that way I had a starting off point.
Mhm.
When I went to look for the equipment, I wasn't going in completely blind. Um, yeah, that was what I needed to get started.
Yeah, that's really cool. So there is a thing um that is called borrowed confidence. And what that that might not be the exact phrasing for it, but it's essentially what it is. And um or it's like borrowed confidence or borrowed trust. And it's when we don't trust ourselves or truly believe that we're capable of something, but other people, our friends or loved ones around us, see that we're capable or see our potential, and they're like, no, you can. And we're like, we trust them enough to go, well, if you think I can do it, then I probably can. And then we take that step. And so it's actually a phenomena that happens enough of the time that there is a term for it. And it's like borrowed confidence, borrowed trust, or borrowed belief, or something like that. It's borrowed something. But it's actually like a term that's out there. Because a lot of times, I would say 99.9% of the time, we are our worst critics, right? We're harder on ourselves than anybody else ever could be. So, um, I, it's something to try to remember when you're mad at somebody. They've probably already beat themselves up over it 100 times. So try to be a little, try to tone it back a little bit. I, it's hard to do, but I try to remember that, like, it, if I got upset with something or if something wasn't going right and I'm getting frustrated, I can only imagine what they're telling themselves in their head about it, right? So when we have somebody giving us that confidence and really coming to us and saying, no, you can do it, I believe in you, you have, you have the ability, there's something really powerful in that that really helps get us through, because we are so detrimental to ourselves in general. And it's so hard to promote yourself or say, I've done that, I did this and I did a good job. And, because then you're, when you do that, then, we're taught early on, like, we're, why are words so hard? Being overconfident or egotistical, right? And so I'm really glad that you had that you had somebody that you could do that with, and that gave you that confidence. Because I have known you for a short time, and I've not listened to all of your works, but what I have listened to, like, it doesn't seem like you're new at this. It seems like you've been doing this, and it didn't seem, it didn't feel over the top. It felt so natural listening to you switch from voice to voice in the characters and to go through that process. And so I think that your mentor helping you gave us a gift, to be able to get those stories from you and hear those stories. And so I'm very thankful that you had that, and you had somebody that could help boost you into that and to follow your dream, you know, to be doing something that you love to do. There's something very amazing in that, because so many of us fear it,
Hmm.
and so it's an inspiration to people who go to at least try,
Hmm.
at least try. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, so go ahead and give us a list of your works one more time. And these are things that I'll put post production, they'll be added in, and you'll be able to see the books and where to find them, if they're out or when they're going to be released, if we have that. And then I think we're going to call it for the night because we're a little over an hour.
Sure.
And I'm really bad. I'll talk forever. So, and, um, all right. So go ahead. List your works.
All right. Snowden with the Boy Next Door by Emily Camp. Operation Mincemeat, The Corpse That Fooled Hitler by Hugh Ravenscroft. Um, Holes in Your Umbrella, a poetry collection by Jan Kirchner. Not yet released is Velvet Knives by Jan Kirchner. Uh, Savage Tides by Scarlett Devereaux and Gravewalker by Ricky Ward.
Awesome. And I'll be adding the covers of those books and where to find them as well. And for any indie authors that are watching this that decide they'd like to maybe work with you, what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
Yes, there is a contact on my website, uh, DanielleMacMath.com. Um, you can contact me there.
All right, perfect. And I'll also put the website in the description of YouTube and the podcast, and so you can get her website there. It will also be streaming across the top of the video after I do post production. And Danielle, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I'm so glad you found the post that I did and reached out, even though it was a call to indie authors, but you reached out and said, hey, what about a narrator? And I obviously like was very excited to learn more
Yeah.
about this world. So, and you have taught us quite a bit, and I look forward to hanging out with you again, and getting to talk with you when you get some more works under your belt and seeing what you're up to throughout the time. I also do once every like 3 to 4 weeks or so, I will be doing like a thing called chapter chats where it's just, people that want to come in and talk books are invited to come in, and there's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 of us, and we just hang out and talk about whatever our hearts desire. And so I really hope that, it works out one day that you can join us for that. And I thank you so much for reaching out and talking with me and sharing your story and everything, because I learned a lot. And I'm really excited to just hear more and learn more from you.
Yeah,
So
thank you
thank
for
you.
having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, everybody, Danielle MacMath, she's a wonderful narrator. You can find her works on Audible, and I'll put all those links in there as well as other places. I think I I don't know. I'm just talking and rambling now, but um, she's a wonderful narrator, and check out the stuff that she's done and the stories she's put a voice to for us. And also, because I need to get better at this, visit booksbrewsdogs.com, where you can buy a blind date with a book and save a dog or a cat. Every purchase helps go back to animal rescue efforts. So please check out our website and pick out a book. And we do also have indie author books. So there's a very good chance you will not have the book that you pick out, as we like to provide books from indie authors. So thank you again, Danielle. I appreciate you and your time for like the 5th time, and I'm actually going to let you go this time.
All right.
All right. Bye,
Thanks.
everybody.